gather a cup of tea, take a seat, and join me as we investigate one of the most intriguing mysteries in the field of archaeology. It is not only about locating a quarry that the recent breakthrough is about, rather, it is a story of cosmic ambition, glacial anguish, and a journey that redefines our understanding of prehistoric Europe. For ages, the towering sarsen stones that make up Stonehenge have been a riddle that has remained silent and unchangeable. Despite the fact that we were aware that the lesser bluestones originated in Wales, the giants, which are the gigantic sarsens that form the distinctive remained a mystery to us. According to the most prominent explanation, they were hauled from the Marlborough Downs, which is approximately 20 miles to the north and is the closest major sarsen deposit location. In spite of the fact that it was a reasonable assumption, it was nonetheless and only an assumption. Then, a group of academics from the University of Brighton, led by Professor David Nash, came up with an idea that was so smart that it was almost forensic in nature. Imagine for a moment that the stones themselves have a chemical passport, a one-of-a-kind geochemical signature that pointed straight to the location where they were born. A core was indeed the key. The core in question is not a metaphorical one. Rather, it is a literal, cylindrical core that was drilled out of one of the enormous stones, Stone 58, in 1958, as part of a conservation project. For a number of years, this core was stored as a memento by a man named Robert Phillips, who had been involved in the project on multiple occasions. 2018 was the year that he returned it to England, demonstrating an extraordinary act of kindness. Scientific researchers were able to examine the innards of a sarsen stone for the very first time without causing any damage to the monument. They scanned each of the 52 sarsens that were still there by employing a cutting-edge method known as portable X-ray fluorescence. The results were extremely surprising. With the exception of one stone, all of them were chemically similar to one another. This wasn't just a collection of boulders that were thrown together from different locations. This was a single cargo of stone that formed a coherent whole. At this point, the search for the origin had begun. The distinctive geochemical signature of Stone 58 was compared to that of sarsen outcrops located all over southern England on their investigation. They were searching for a perfect geochemical match, which was like seeking for a needle in a haystack. Also, they discovered it. The match brought them not to the expansive Marlborough Downs, but rather to a particular densely wooded location known as Westwoods, which is located approximately 15 miles north of Stonehenge and is close to the village of Lokeridge in Wiltshire. The discovery in question was the where. The actual magic, however, is found in TY and the how. How come Westwoods, specifically huge and of exceptional quality? The sarsen greyweathers that were found in Westwoods were referred to by the locals as greyweathers. Stonehenge was constructed by expert architects who did not simply pick up any old rock like they did in other construction projects. In order to create their masterpiece, they were picking the most exquisite and long-lasting megalith. Westwoods is situated on a high plateau, making it an advantageous location. The builders could have looked south from this vantage point and would have been able to see the Salisbury Plain, which was their final destination. This was not merely a quarry. Rather, it was the beginning of an extraordinary trip, and the destination was finally within reach. Ingenuity and heartbreak are the two main themes of the journey. Here is where we have the opportunity to engage our imagination while being guided by the data. Imagining the scene around the year 2500 BC, crushed stone and sweat are both present in the air, making it difficult to breathe. The Herculean work of moving a stone that weighs 25 tons is underway, and it is being done by hundreds of teams, using ropes that are weaved from lime bark and wooden rollers. It would be impossible for them to haul it across slopes, so they don't do it. The stone highway is the gradual, dry valleys that run down from the high plateau, and they follow it by following it. Nevertheless, here is the surprise that sets this narrative apart from others. The voyage was probably a lot simpler than we had ever imagined it would be. Over the course of several decades, we envisioned back-breaking labor as we dragged stones across rugged terrain. On the other hand, the path that extends from Westwoods to Stonehenge is nearly entirely a descent, over a distance of 15 miles. It is only necessary to descend approximately 70 meters because it follows a natural contour system. The path was meticulously selected and appeared to have been engineered. Now, Picture the last leg of the race. A big wooden sledge is used to pull the stone onto the banks of the river Avon. The stone is then attached to the stone. This is where the true talent is revealed. It was unnecessary for the builders to create the wheel because they already had the water. A prehistoric barge, which would have been a massive raft made of oak and lime, might have been constructed, and the Sarsens could have been carried down the river and then up the river Till, which would have brought them to within a stone's throw of the location. This wasn't a stupid and aggressive haul at all. In terms of logistics, it was a masterpiece. A symphony of coordinated labor, understanding of the topography, and Neolithic engineering that would be astounding even in the modern day. Bluestones and the glacial theory. A more in-depth investigation into the mystery in addition. This discovery completely disproves an alternative idea, which postulates that the Sarsens were transported by a glacier during the most recent ice age. The presence of a chemical fingerprint demonstrates that they originated from a single, local source. It was human hands that cut them down and shifted them about. The narrative of the smaller bluestones, which were carried from the Preseli Hills in Wales, which are located more than 240 kilometers away, is made much more meaningful by this fact. In search of those stones, which were said to possess spiritual or therapeutic power, the builders traveled to a particular mountain in Wales that was located in the distance. After then, they obtained their structural giants from a certain type of high-quality timber that was located 15 miles distant. There was no accidental construction involved here. A wholly long-distance link to Wales was mixed with the pragmatic and clever sourcing of local engineering materials in this project, which was made with the intention of involving multiple generations simultaneously. This is the end result. In other words, the enigma has not been solved. There has been a change in it. It is no longer the case that we witness a group of primitive people dragging stones that they have discovered. The society that we perceive is highly developed and has a broad perspective. In their capacity as geologists, they chose the most superior materials. As engineers, they were determining the route that would cause the least amount of resistance across the terrain. They were project managers who were responsible for supervising a staff that varied in age. Stonehenge is no longer merely a circle of stones. Its history encompasses much more than that. The story is about a journey, a stone pilgrimage that was meticulously planned and wonderfully executed, beginning in the high woodlands of Wiltshire and ending in the sacred plain with the goal of constructing a monument that would reverberate throughout the ages. At long last, the enigma surrounding its beginnings has been resolved, and in its place, we have discovered a narrative of human ambition that is significantly more interesting.